My friends, I want you to take a deep breath with me right now. Really breathe. Because if you are over 60, the world has been telling you a story, and much of that story is wrong. The story says slow down. The story says your best years are behind you. The story says aches and pains are inevitable, energy is supposed to disappear, and excitement is something only young people get to feel. I am here to tell you, with every ounce of conviction I have, that this story is not science, it is a myth. Inside your brain right now lives a powerful chemical called dopamine. Dopamine is not just about pleasure, it is about motivation, movement, hope, and drive. It is the spark that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning. And here is the beautiful truth. Age does not switch it off, but our habits can. So many people over 60 fall into what I call the comfort trap. We sit more, move less, rely on quick pleasures, easy entertainment, too much television, too much phone scrolling, too many sugary snacks, and we wonder why life feels flat. We wonder why our muscles feel weak and our spirit feels tired. But your brain and your body are always listening to what you do. When you challenge yourself, when you move, when you step a little bit outside of comfort, something extraordinary happens. Your dopamine wakes up, your muscles wake up, your mind wakes up, you start to feel alive again. I have seen people in their 70s and 80s completely transform their energy, not with complicated treatments, not with miracle pills, but with simple, powerful daily choices. A morning walk, lifting light weights, stretching, learning something new, choosing effort over ease. These actions send a message to your brain. I am still here. I am still strong. I am still growing. And let me tell you something emotional and deeply true. Your body is not your enemy. Your aging muscles are not broken machinery. They are loyal servants that have carried you through decades of life. They are waiting for you to believe in them again. When you start using them with intention, they respond with gratitude. They heal. They rebuild. They come back to life. Dopamine is built through effort. It is built through purpose. It is built when you do things that are slightly hard instead of constantly easy. And yes, I know change can feel scary. I know it can feel uncomfortable. But discomfort is not a sign of danger. It is a sign of growth. Imagine waking up in the morning and feeling excitement instead of stiffness. Imagine walking upstairs without fear. Imagine playing with your grandchildren without getting exhausted. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing not just an older face, but a vibrant, capable human being who refuses to fade quietly into the background of life. This is possible, not someday, not for other people, for you. The modern world has accidentally trained us to be passive, but you do not have to accept that training. You can retrain your brain and your body at any age. Every step you take, every healthy habit you build, every time you choose movement over sitting, you are literally reshaping your nervous system. And here's the most important emotional truth I want to leave with you. Feeling alive is not a privilege of youth. It is a choice available to you right now. You are not too old to feel strong. You are not too old to feel motivated. You are not too old to heal. You are not too old to wake up your dopamine and fall back in love with your life. So stand up today with courage. Move your body. Challenge your limits gently but firmly. Feed your brain real effort instead of empty comfort. And watch what happens. Because being over 60 does not mean winding down. It can mean waking up. And the moment you decide to begin, your body, your brain, and your spirit will rise to meet you. Go out there and feel alive again. For this exercise, I will expand what would naturally be the first and most important principle in Dr. Anna Lembke's message. Real dopamine is created through effort, not comfort. Too many people have been misled about what dopamine really is. We live in a culture that tells us dopamine is the reward we get from lying on the couch, eating sweets, scrolling our phones, or being entertained every minute of the day. But that is not true dopamine. That is cheap dopamine. That is borrowed pleasure. And borrowed pleasure always has to be paid back with interest. Real dopamine, the kind that makes you feel strong and alive and hopeful, is produced when you do things that require something from you. Your brain was designed for challenge. It was designed for movement, for learning, for struggle, for small daily victories. When life becomes too easy, your dopamine system actually begins to go to sleep. That is why so many people wake up tired even after resting all day. That is why boredom, apathy, and low motivation are everywhere, especially as people get older. We think we are protecting ourselves by doing less, when in reality we are slowly turning down the volume on our own inner vitality. I want you to understand something powerful. Dopamine is not a gift that randomly disappears with age. It is a muscle. And like every other muscle in your body, it grows when you use it and weakens when you don't. When you choose the easy path again and again, your brain learns to expect constant comfort. And a brain that expects comfort becomes fragile. But when you choose to do hard things, even small hard things, you send a completely different message to your nervous system. You teach it resilience. You teach it confidence. You teach it to generate its own energy. This is especially important after 60, when many people are told to slow down and take it easy. Of course, you must be wise and safe, but slowing down does not mean giving up effort. In fact, effort becomes more important than ever. Getting up and taking a walk when you would rather sit, doing light exercise when you would rather rest, learning a new skill when you would rather watch television. These choices feel small, but to your dopamine system, they are enormous. Every time you push yourself a little bit, your brain releases dopamine not just at the end of the activity, but during it. You begin to rediscover a feeling you may not have felt in years, the feeling of earning your own well-being. And that feeling is incredibly energizing. It reminds you that you are still capable, still growing, still in the game of life. The modern world is full of instant pleasures, but instant pleasures leave us empty. Earned pleasures fill us up. That is the great secret. If you want to wake up your mind, wake up your mood, and wake up your aging muscles, you must be willing to choose effort over ease again and again. So start small, but start seriously. Demand a little more from yourself each day, because the moment you do, your dopamine system will respond. And when that system wakes up, you don't just feel older and wiser, you feel alive. The second essential truth I want to talk about is this. Movement is medicine for both the body and the brain. People often think of exercise as something optional, something cosmetic, something younger people do to look good, but that idea completely misses the point. Movement is not decoration for life. Movement is the foundation of life. And as you grow older, it becomes one of the most powerful tools you have to heal yourself from the inside out. Your muscles are not just pieces of flesh that help you lift groceries or climb stairs. They are living, communicating organs. Every time you move them, they send chemical signals to your brain that improve mood, sharpen memory, reduce anxiety, and increase dopamine. When you stop moving, those signals grow quiet. And when they grow quiet, the mind and the spirit begin to shrink along with the body. So many people over 60 believe the lie that pain and stiffness mean they should avoid activity. They think, my joints hurt, my back aches, I must rest more. But in most cases, the opposite is true. The less you move, the weaker your muscles become. The weaker your muscles become, the more your joints hurt. And the more your joints hurt, the less you want to move. It becomes a downward spiral that steals energy, confidence, and independence. But there is also an upward spiral available to you at any age. When you start to move again, even gently, even imperfectly, your body begins to rebuild itself. Blood flow improves, balance improves, sleep improves, and something emotional happens as well. You begin to trust your body again. You stop seeing yourself as fragile and start seeing yourself as capable. I have watched people in their 60s, 70s, even 80s transform their lives simply by deciding to move every day. Not with extreme workouts, not with punishing routines, but with consistent, honest effort. A daily walk around the block, light strength training, simple stretching, standing up more often, choosing the stairs instead of the elevator. These small acts may look ordinary, but to your nervous system, they are revolutionary. Movement wakes up dopamine in a natural, sustainable way. It tells your brain, I am still engaged with life. I am still participating. I am not finished yet. And the brain answers back with more motivation, more clarity, more emotional balance. And let me speak directly to the fear many people feel. Yes, starting again can feel uncomfortable. Yes, your body may protest at first, but discomfort is not damage. Discomfort is simply your system waking up after years of being underused. If you treat your body with patience and respect, it will respond far better than you imagine. You do not need to run marathons to feel alive again. You simply need to stop being still. The human body was designed to walk, to lift, to stretch, to breathe deeply, to feel the ground beneath its feet. When you return to those simple, natural actions, you reconnect with something ancient and powerful inside yourself. So do not wait for energy to arrive before you move. Move first, and energy will follow. That is how the system works. And once you experience that truth in your own life, you realize something extraordinary. Aging does not have to be a slow fading away. With movement, it can become a process of renewal. The third principle I want you to understand deeply is this: comfort is not the same as well-being. In fact, constant comfort can quietly become one of the most dangerous traps of later life. We live in a time when everything is designed to be easy. Food arrives at the push of a button. Entertainment never stops. Chairs are softer than ever. Screens are brighter than ever. And effort is optional almost everywhere. And yet, paradoxically, more people feel tired, anxious, depressed, and empty than ever before. This is not an accident. The human brain was never meant to live in a world of endless ease. Your nervous system is built on balance, on the rhythm between effort and reward, challenge and recovery. When that rhythm disappears and life becomes a smooth, flat line of comfort, your dopamine system begins to dull. You start to feel restless without knowing why. You start to lose motivation. You begin to confuse being comfortable with being alive. Especially after 60, many people unconsciously design their lives around avoiding discomfort. They avoid physical effort, avoid new experiences, avoid learning unfamiliar things, avoid social risks. The intention is to feel safe, but the result is often the opposite. A life without challenge slowly becomes a smaller and smaller life. I want to be very clear about something. I am not saying you should suffer. I am not saying you should punish yourself or live in pain. What I am saying is that a meaningful, energized life requires a certain amount of voluntary discomfort. The discomfort of getting out of a warm bed to take a morning walk. The discomfort of turning off the television and doing a stretching routine. The discomfort of learning a new skill instead of staying with what is familiar. These are not threats to your well-being. They are the very ingredients of it. Your brain changes based on what you ask it to do. If you constantly ask it to seek ease, it becomes weak. If you ask it to tolerate small doses of difficulty, it becomes strong. This is true emotionally, mentally, and physically. And the beautiful part is that it is never too late to begin reversing the pattern. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most proud of yourself. They were not moments of sitting comfortably on the couch. They were moments when you did something a little bit hard, when you finished a project, learned something new, completed a workout, helped someone else, or overcame a fear. Those moments created real, lasting dopamine. They created self-respect. As we grow older, the temptation to choose comfort over growth becomes stronger. But your spirit does not retire at 60. Your need for purpose does not disappear. In fact, it becomes more important than ever. Choosing small daily challenges keeps that spirit awake. So begin to question the habits that feel easy. Ask yourself, is this choice truly nourishing me, or is it simply comfortable? Am I avoiding this activity because it is harmful or because it requires effort? These questions can gently guide you back toward a more vibrant way of living. Remember this: a life built only on comfort eventually feels uncomfortable, but a life that includes regular, chosen challenges becomes deeply satisfying. When you stop running from difficulty and start embracing it in healthy ways, your dopamine system wakes up, your confidence grows, and you rediscover a sense of aliveness that no recliner or television show can ever give you. The fourth truth I want to place firmly in your heart is this: your mindset about aging shapes your biology more than you realize. We often talk about aging as if it is purely a physical process, something that simply happens to us while we stand by helplessly. But science and experience tell a very different story. The way you think about your body, your future, and your possibilities has a direct impact on how your brain and nervous system function. For decades, many cultures have repeated the same tired narrative. Getting older means getting weaker. Getting older means becoming fragile. Getting older means lowering expectations and slowly stepping out of life. When you hear that message enough times, it seeps into your identity. You begin to move less, try less, hope less, and your body obediently follows the instructions your mind has given it. But here is the empowering reality. Aging is not only a decline, it is also an adaptation. Your brain remains capable of learning, growing, and changing until the very last day of life. Neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to rewire itself, does not expire at 60 or 70. It continues as long as you continue to challenge it. When you believe you are capable, you behave in ways that keep you capable. I have seen remarkable transformations simply from people changing the story they tell themselves. A person who says, "I'm too old for that," slowly becomes too old for everything. But a person who says, I am older, but I am still learning opens doors that seemed closed. The body responds to that attitude with energy, with resilience, with renewed dopamine. Your thoughts are not just private opinions floating in your head. They are instructions to your nervous system. When you wake up each day and tell yourself that decline is inevitable, your brain reduces motivation and effort. When you wake up and tell yourself that growth is still possible, your brain releases chemicals that support movement, curiosity, and engagement. This does not mean pretending you are 20 again. It means respecting the stage of life you are in while refusing to surrender to hopelessness. It means understanding that aging can be a time of strength, wisdom, and even physical renewal if you approach it with courage instead of fear. Mindset also affects pain, fatigue, and recovery. People who see themselves as fragile experience more limitations than people who see themselves as works in progress. When you adopt a mindset of capability, you stand taller, you move more confidently, and you take better care of yourself. Those behaviors then reinforce the very belief that created them. I want you to imagine two different inner voices. One voice says, slow down, be careful, don't try, you might get hurt. The other voice says, move gently, stay curious, keep going, you are stronger than you think. The voice you choose to listen to day after day will quietly determine the quality of your later years. Changing your mindset does not require grand affirmations or unrealistic positivity. It requires small, honest shifts, replacing I can't with I will try, replacing I'm too old with I'm still learning, replacing it's too late with I can begin today. When you do this, something profound happens. You stop experiencing aging as a slow closing of doors and start experiencing it as a new chapter with different possibilities. And your brain, always listening, responds by giving you more energy, more dopamine, and more life. So protect your mindset fiercely, because how you think about aging is one of the most powerful medicines you will ever have. The fifth and final principle I want to leave you with is deeply human and deeply hopeful. Purpose is the greatest natural source of dopamine at any age. More than money, more than comfort, more than entertainment, what keeps a person truly alive is the feeling that they are still needed, still useful, still connected to something larger than themselves. So many people reach their 60s and beyond and unconsciously begin to step away from purpose. Careers slow down, children grow up, routines change, and without realizing it, a quiet question begins to whisper inside, what am I here for now? If that question goes unanswered, the brain experiences it as a kind of loss. Motivation drops, energy fades, the days begin to feel repetitive and small, but purpose does not retire when you do. Purpose simply changes shape. Your brain is wired to seek meaning. Dopamine is not only released when you accomplish tasks, it is released when you feel that your actions matter. When you care for someone, when you contribute to your community, when you learn something new, when you create, teach, mentor, volunteer, or simply show up for the people you love, your dopamine system lights up in a powerful and sustainable way. This is why some people grow older with incredible vitality while others shrink emotionally. The difference is not luck. It is engagement. It is deciding that your life still has a mission. Purpose does not have to be grand. It does not require writing a book or starting a company. It can be as simple as committing to your health so you can be present for your family. It can be helping a neighbor, caring for a garden, joining a class, mentoring a younger person, or dedicating yourself to a daily routine of growth. Small purposes practiced consistently become enormous sources of inner energy. When you wake up with a reason to get out of bed, your brain organizes itself differently. Fatigue feels lighter, pain feels more manageable, challenges feel meaningful instead of burdensome. Purpose gives context to effort, and effort fuels dopamine. I often see people searching for motivation as if it will magically appear first, but motivation follows purpose, not the other way around. When you decide that something matters, your nervous system rises to meet that decision. Suddenly you find strength you thought was gone. You find enthusiasm you believed belonged only to the young. And here is something beautiful. As you age, you carry within you decades of experience, wisdom, and understanding. The world needs that. Families need that. Communities need that. Younger generations desperately need the calm guidance of those who have lived long enough to know what truly matters. You are not meant to disappear quietly into the background of life. You are meant to remain engaged with it until the very end. So ask yourself a gentle but powerful question. Who or what still needs me? The answer to that question will become your compass. Follow it, and your dopamine will follow as well. When you combine purpose with movement, effort, and a courageous mindset, something extraordinary happens. Aging stops feeling like a process of loss and begins to feel like a process of contribution. And contribution is one of the most energizing forces on earth. Never forget this. Feeling alive is not about being young. It is about being connected, being useful, and being awake to your own life. Hold on to purpose, and no matter what age you are, you will continue to feel vibrantly, powerfully, beautifully alive.